just let me know, is AJ Brown a top 10 wide receiver in 2020?
Right here.
And this one's probably one that we've been waiting to do, or well, we've actually talked about AJ Brown for a little bit in every episode almost this offseason, and it's still not hitting home because we're still seeing him in mock drafts go a little too late. So Johnny, AJ Brown, let's talk about AJ Brown, and really just let me know, is AJ Brown a top 10 wide receiver in 2020?
So AJ Brown has been, like you alluded to, he's been going and being disrespected in a lot of mock drafts, and I think it's a travesty. Because this guy, people do not realize just how good he was last year. Near the end, we have to remember that Marcus Mariota was this guy's starting quarterback through the first 6 weeks. They did not get Ryan Tannehill in until week 7, and then they had a bye in week 10. So, and I tweeted this out the other day. So if you're not following us at TF Whispers, make sure you're doing that. I tweeted this out the other day because a lot of people are down on AJ Brown, and they're like, yeah, he could be a top 15 wide receiver, but I think that that's a ceiling. People, do you not realize what he was doing with Ryan Tannehill last year down the stretch? From weeks, let me pull this up here. I'm trying to buy some time. But down the stretch, AJ Brown was getting peppered with targets. He averaged from weeks 10 to 16 or 11 to 16, if you just extrapolate those weeks, he was the wide receiver 4 during that time. And if you go from weeks 8 all the way to 16, so you give Ryan Tannehill that first kind of game to get back under his belt, and you just go from weeks 8 to 16. Remember, they did have the bye, so I'll include that. And he still finished as the wide receiver 8. So he definitely can be a top 10 wide receiver if you extrapolate that over an entire season. With Ryan Tannehill now for sure getting his contract extension, this guy's getting 20% market share. I expect that to go up because this guy is going to get better. Remember, last year was his rookie year. He only got 84 targets, Travis. And so
the efficiency metrics are off the chart for AJ Brown, right? I mean, like 20.2 yards per reception. That was second best. 12.5 yards per target. That was second best. 3.46 yards per pass route. That was second best. So we're talking about a guy that not only gets down the field, but then, as you said, was getting a market share that's really high. And now with a full year with Tannehill under his belt, you get a high market share, high efficiency numbers. Like, he should be locked in to a top 12 as a number 1 wide receiver, and he's going later than he needs to in drafts. And you guys, the fantasy community, the Whisper Nation can really capitalize on this.
Yeah, he's going super, in the 5th round. I had some people ask, what would they, would you go into the 4th round for AJ Brown? And I would. Listen, I think his talent is there. I think next year when we're doing this same draft, we're going to be talking about AJ Brown going in the 2nd round next year. That's how much I think he is going to make a jump this year. And you're definitely going to want him on your fantasy roster this year in 2020.
Yeah, I mean, he's going behind guys like Deebo Samuel, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. I would take him above all these guys in a heartbeat. And those guys are going in the 3rd round at the end of the 3rd.
It's absurd.
Even T.Y. Hilton, who's behind you on your jersey wall there, like, I would even consider AJ Brown over T.Y. Hilton because of the upside purely alone and the values there. So make sure you're keeping an eye on AJ Brown and where his ADP is and being willing to take him maybe a round before everybody else in your draft.
And listen, I get the main argument that people are going to say, oh, this is not a pass-heavy offense, that it's a run-first, Derrick Henry, all that. And that's okay. It can be that. But the number 1 wide receiver for them it's not going to be Corey Davis. We've been down that. That's not, unless he pulls another Devontae Parker, which I doubt it, spends 5 years in the league and finally breaks out. AJ Brown is their wide receiver 1. You are good to have a wide receiver 1 on a not as pass friendly. Think of the Green Bay Packers.
I'm even going later, right? Think of the Dallas Cowboys with Dez Bryant and Ezekiel Elliott. When Dez Bryant was having his good games, or DeMarco Murray, even when DeMarco Murray was there, they were a run-heavy scheme under Jason Garrett, but Dez Bryant was still a top 10, top 5 wide receiver at times. And I think that's where you can lean on. If he's the guy, if he's the one eating in that offense, it doesn't matter if he's the only one, if he's getting the numbers that he's getting.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well,
thank you for listening to the Fantasy Whisperers podcast. You can hear more from John and Travis on Google Play, SoundCloud, and iTunes. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at TF Whisperers.